The tiering system of competitive singles attempts to categorize every Pokemon by their power level. And these tiers are usage-based. Depending on how popular a Pokemon is on teams, it can rise up to a higher tier, fall down to a lower tier, or remain in the appropriate tier. After a generation has existed for some time, Pokemon settle into their appropriate tiers that correctly represent how powerful they are. This is a really cool system because it means there are different power levels you can play in. Pokemon is a massive series with over 1,000 creatures in it, and many of them are garbage competitively. But if you're playing in ZU, a tier where only those in the lowest usage bracket are allowed to be used, something like Arboliva is a good choice, or Banette, or Bellossom. Pokemon you would never see in regular competitive play have a place to exist. But what if, instead of relegating all of these Pokemon into their own weight classes, tiers where they can exist, what if you just buff the lower tier Pokemon to be as powerful as the high tier Pokemon? This is the premise behind the alternate metagame called Tier Shift. Unlike most alternative competitive metagames in the world of singles, Tier Shift isn't changing that much. There's no fundamental mechanics being changed, but what Tier Shift does is provide stat increases to lower tier Pokemon. If you are an OU ranked Pokemon like Goldingo or Dragapult, you have no stat increases because you're already high tier. But if you're an underused Pokemon, the tier below OU, you will receive plus 15 to all of your stats except HP. All of your stats are buffed besides HP. And the lower you go down the tier list, the higher the stat increase. RU Pokemon receive plus 20 in their stats, NU Pokemon 25, and PU Pokemon receive plus 30 in their stats. That's where it ends though. ZU Pokemon don't get even more stats than that. This is a very interesting premise and a unique approach to an alternate metagame that basically expands the amount of options in the game. Everything in OU is still usable, but now you have a bunch of lower tier Pokemon that have been buffed to try and help them exist at the same power level. So what are some standout examples of lower tier Pokemon that can now shine in this new environment where they've received such significant stat buffs? But first, a shocking update on world news. Upon seizing absolute power over the known world and overthrowing the previous regime, Iron Mugulus has reigned with an iron fist. Loyalists to Magcargo have been forced to do battle against Funbro and be trapped in a never-ending loop for perhaps the rest of time as we know it. It seems that this mysterious, shrouded figure can possibly assist Magcargo in reclaiming his monarchy. But who is this, and what are they capable of? Only by subscribing to the channel can we reveal such hidden information. Thank you. One particular Pokemon was so powerful in this new world that it had to be banned, and that was the ZU-ranked Pokemon Medicham. Medicham is one of my favorite Pokemon actually, and when it debuted back in Gen 3, it was certainly a force to be reckoned with. Medicham's defining trait is its ability Pure Power, which grants it a doubled attack stat. Even though Medicham's attack stat is only 60, with extra stats from EVs and a plus attack nature, you can double all those stats and achieve a massive attack stat. Back in Gen 3, Medicham was probably the most powerful wall breaker in the whole game, but in modern times this Pokemon has fallen off, as these days there are Pokemon with comparable power levels that also have better stats everywhere else. Medicham's base stats are quite terrible, especially its bulk and speed being so lacking. But this is Tier Shift we're talking about, and Medicham, being a ZU-ranked Pokemon, is eligible for a 30 stat point increase in all of these low stats. There's actually a chat command you can use on Pokemon Showdown to see the stats of Pokemon in Tier Shift. If you type /TS and then the Pokemon's name, it'll show their stats, and here we can see Medicham's. A 30-point increase in those defensive stats is significant, and it means Medicham will not fold to a slight breeze anymore. It was really lacking in the defense department for years now. 110 base speed is actually pretty incredible, and most notably of all, Medicham also gets an even higher attack stat of base 90. Now with just 60 base attack, Medicham can already achieve a massive attack stat of 480 thanks to pure power, with all the bonus stats. But if you increase that base attack stat to 90, Medicham can reach an unbelievable 612 attack stat. Just 30 more points in the base stat is really significant when you factor in pure power and its doubling effect. With 612 attack, better bulk here, and even a pretty respectable speed, Medicham was incredibly powerful and had to be dealt with. At the moment, Medicham is the only non-Uber Pokemon that is banned from being used in tier shift. In the past, back in 2023, Oricorio Pom-Pom was actually banned from the format. Yes, another one. I just did a whole video about all the times Oricorio has been banned, and you just never learn your lesson, do you, Oricorio? How many times do we have to teach you this lesson? I assume that when this ban took place, Oricorio was down in a lower tier like PU, and therefore received plus 30 in all of its stats, which would have been really good, because Oricorio, of course, got Quiver Dance this gen, a huge buff for it, and with actual good stats that would amplify it further. You've already seen how good it is in lower tiers, and Oricorio Pom-Pom is ranked RUBL now as a result. And this is an interesting case because since this guy has risen in Smogon's tiering system from a low tier all the way up to RUBL, it is no longer receiving as many stat boosts in tier shift. Tier shift considers Oricorio Pom-Pom to be a UU Pokemon by its rules because it's only legal to use in UU and above, and therefore Oricorio is only receiving a stat boost of 15 to everything, rather than the previous 30 it was receiving. So that's much more manageable, and they unbanned Oricorio because of that. But isn't that interesting that the tiering system happening outside of this format affects things and changes how many stats these guys get to have? Some of the strongest low-tier Pokemon in tier shift are ones with high base HP already, because remember, HP is the only stat that doesn't receive a boost. For that reason, Vaporeon is an excellent Pokemon in tier shift. Vaporeon is ranked NU in Gen 9, which is quite low, meaning it receives plus 25 to all of its stats, and its stats are pretty good already, especially for an NU Pokemon. Vaporeon is a Pokemon that has had decent competitive success in the past, largely because of its massive HP stat of base 130. Even with only 60 base defense, that high HP is good enough to make up for it. So receiving stat boosts on Vaporeon is incredibly impactful. This is a foundation of an incredible Pokemon here, with a excellent mono water typing, a great ability in water absorb. And now it has a pretty significantly higher base 85 defense, base 120 special defense, which is just incredible. Base 90 speed means it's actually kind of fast, and base 135 special attack means it also hits hard. Vaporeon is an incredible combination of everything. Bulk, offense, utility. It feels like Vaporeon was made for tier shift. It is benefiting immensely from the tier shift environment. Another Pokemon benefiting greatly from the world of tier shift is Drifblim. Drifblim is ranked ZU in Gen 9, the lowest possible tier, meaning it gets 30 to all of its stats except HP. And Drifblim hardly needs an HP boost, it already has base 150 HP, it's its highest stat. Now Drifblim is defined by its massive HP, but dreadful defenses of only 44 and 54. So any boost to defense is massive here, with that HP stat. Drifblim ends up having 74 defense and 84 special defense, greatly enhancing its bulk. Drifblim's offensive stats are now really respectable at 110 and 120 each, and you even have 110 base speed now too. Drifblim has plenty of tools here to take advantage of all its great new stats. You have Will-O-Wisp and Strength Sap as utility options and even a form of healing. Defog is incredible utility. Flare Boost is an ability that Drifblim rarely gets to use. An ability that when burned grants a boost to special damage, 1.5x power on special attacks. With only 90 base special attack, it's hard to justify using that, but now Drifblim has 120 special attack, so it can use that. The classic Unburden Acrobatics set can serve you well too, with 110 attack now, and Drifblim has many directions it can go. Despite being a legendary Pokemon, Wo-Chien has had a tough competitive life, in both singles and doubles. Many have tried to make it work. This is a Pokemon that garners fondness from many angles. It's a lovely Pokemon visually, and flavor-wise. Ancient snail creature. We love Wo-Chien, but dark grass typing is atrocious, its options are limited, and while it has impressive bulk, it's just suffering in too many areas. Times 4 weakness to bug, too many weaknesses to name. It's not a good look on a defensive Pokemon to be weak to this many things. But this is tier shift, and in tier shift, low tier Pokemon receive a stat boost, of course. Wo-Chien is ranked all the way down in PU, which is the tier where you get 30 to all your stats. So Wo-Chien is kind of a monster in tier shift for once. There is a world where Wo-Chien can wreak havoc. The guy has 130 defense, 165 special defense, base 100 speed, and really good attacking stats too. This set from a player called Styles to You at Showdown is using Growth and Trailblaze as methods to boost Wo-Chien's threat level, and with Knockoff for Dark Stab and Power Whip for Grass Stab, this guy is actually really threatening. And it can get damn fast, with Trailblaze speed boosts and a base 100 speed now. On the special attacking side, you have options like Leaf Storm, which is actually very strong, and Wo-Chien has always had pretty nice defensive tools, like Leech Seed, and with greatly enhanced bulk now, it's so much better at doing all that. Wo-Chien is incredibly good in tier shift. It might be one of the best Pokemon in the whole format. Porygon 2 is among my favorite Pokemon of all time. It's my favorite normal type in the series, and it also has a decent competitive history. Back in Gen 3, this was a genuine option in OU thanks to its excellent ability Trace, which copies the enemy ability, and that has plenty of fun application. Porygon 2 has also had success in doubles thanks to its access to Trick Room. And ever since receiving a new evolution of Porygon Z, it has had access to the Eviolite item, enhancing its bulk. Porygon 2 in Gen 9 is ranked NU, and that means it's eligible for 25 extra stats in tier shift, which is a pretty significant boost to an already solid Pokemon. Most notably of all, Porygon 2 here has a 130 special attack, and Porygon 2 has the excellent offensive ability Download, which increases your offensive stat depending on their weaker defensive stat. You also have Analytic, which is a great offensive ability, granting 1.3x power to your moves if you were the last to move in a turn. With this incredible boost to your offensive firepower and great offensive abilities to take advantage of, Porygon 2 is a frightening Pokemon. Not to mention it has excellent special attacking coverage with such options as Tri-Attack, Ice Beam, and Thunderbolt. Porygon 2 also has significantly enhanced defenses here, with 115 physical defense and 120 special defense, and it can still use an Eviolite, since it's not fully evolved. I mean, these stats are good enough already, but with the Eviolite on top, you can reach up to 558 special defense if you're fully invested, and 541 physical defense if you're fully invested. That is just crazy. Much like Vaporeon and Wo-Chien, Porygon 2 has an unbelievable combination of defensive and offensive firepower thanks to the tier shift environment. This guy might be a little too good, honestly, in this format. Hariyama is another crazy one here. Hariyama is ZUBL, meaning it gets the plus 30, and this is a fantastic foundation for a tier shift Pokemon with its already very high base HP. Hariyama has always suffered from terrible defensive stats, much like Drifblim, being offset by the HP, so any increase in defense is hugely impactful here, and Hariyama receives an unbelievable 150 base attack. That's the same attack as Rhydon, for goodness sake. It's like a legendary. With a guts boost on top, Hariyama is absolutely frightening. The guy even has priority in the form of Fake Out or Bullet Punch. If you want to be a bit bold, you can go with Belly Drum Hariyama and achieve levels of attacking power scarcely ever before seen. And you're actually kind of fast now with base 80 speed. This is yet another Pokemon that was good back in the day but has fallen off a cliff massively, so it's fun to see it get so buffed in a Gen 9 format. Now, I have noticed that in my comments section there is a significant amount of Emboar fans. I'm always a little bit lukewarm on Emboar. Not the biggest Emboar enjoyer in the world, but every single time I bring up Emboar, people come out in droves in the comments to defend him. And you'll be pleased to know that Emboar is also kind of made for this format. Emboar is benefiting about as much as you can from the tier shift environment, because in Gen 9 this guy is ZUBL. Emboar is a Pokemon that's never been fantastic, always outclassed by the other firefighting types, but in tier shift, it's probably the best of all of them, because it's getting the 30 stat boosts in everything, resulting in an unbelievable 153 base attack, and a very well-rounded stat distribution in general, with incredible mixed attacking stats too. 130 special attack. An Emboar Flare Blitz boosted by Reckless, which is an ability that boosts the power of recoil moves, is something I can scarcely even imagine the damage of. And if I have to give Emboar credit in any area, the guy has an incredible attacking move pool with stab options galore, Sucker Punch for priority, Knockoff and Earthquake, Head Smash if you want even more reckless damage, although that might kill you. And special attacking options too, like Overheat and Grass Knot. Plus the guy has high horsepower, I mean. I won't get into what all that means, but it's very noteworthy. If you are an Emboar fan, I urge you to try Tier Shift. I don't think Emboar has ever been as good as this in the history of the franchise. Now, to be honest, I think that this guy probably does still suck, but it's absolutely worth mentioning, because Slaking has crazy stats in Tier Shift. Slaking is known for having incredible stats already, comparable to that of a legendary Pokemon, but it has the massive drawback of its ability Truant, meaning it cannot act on every other turn. It's one of the worst abilities in the game, and it is designed deliberately as a way to balance Slaking. It has outstanding stats, but this dreadful ability. But could Slaking actually be viable in Tier Shift with this significant stat increase? In Tier Shift, it has 190 base attack, 130 speed. It even has a good special attack. I mean, a Slaking Giga Impact might be able to KO anything on the planet. I think Truant might still be so terrible that this is still bad, but I think it's at least worth giving a try for fun. The concept of this having 190 attack is crazy. And if you're wondering who the Landorus Therian or the Great Tusk of this metagame is, I think it's Rhydon. Rhydon is PU, so it gets the 30 in every stat, and it can use an Eviolite like Porygon 2. It's a middle stage, and it's not fully evolved. So Rhydon, with its unbelievable 160 attack and 150 defense, is also kind of feeling like Groudon with stats like that. And it's patching up that special defense weakness it usually has with the Eviolite boost and a significantly higher base stat than it does in regular formats. It has excellent stab types with ground and rock, enough natural physical bulk to stomach many common hits, and also access to Stealth Rock. I believe Rhydon is one of the most popular Pokemon in this format. I've also neglected to mention so far that some Ubers Pokemon are even allowed here. The power level is incredibly high, as I'm sure you've noticed from this whole video. ZU Pokemon are able to achieve legendary level stats, so having actual legendaries running around doesn't even feel that bad. Many of them are not even as good as Pokemon like Vaporeon or Wo-Chien. So most Ubers ranked Pokemon are just allowed in Tier Shift, with the exception of Calyrex Shadow Rider, Koraidon and Miraidon, and Zacian Crowned. Most Arceus forms are also banned with the exception of Bug, Grass, and Ice, but everything else is completely legal and creates an absurd metagame where you see Giratina Origin face off against something like Torterra, and they are considered equals in this world. OU ranked Pokemon actually kind of struggle here because they're getting dwarfed by all these ZUs, and obviously the Ubers are already better than they are, so a lot of them are just not used, except the very impactful ones like a Goldengo. This is a tier run by the little guys, and they are on top now. The pyramid has flipped. A Pokemon like Vileplume is considered on the same level as Eternatus in this strange environment, and I'm all for it, frankly. This format is currently playable on Pokemon Showdown this month. If you go to OM of the month, you just click Tier Shift and you can queue it up right now. This is not the most popular alternate metagame on Smogon. It has a few dedicated members that seem to be pushing the metagame forward, but it's not included in the OMPL. I haven't seen any tournaments for it. And it's also rarely available on the ladder. So there is so much to still explore here, I'm sure. With the sheer amount of options available in this format, it's kind of incredible. ZU is a massive list of Pokemon, so is PU. And all of them are getting snap buffs. There's surely something broken in there that you might be able to find that no one else has thought about. This is actually a metagame where your random little favorite guy could be the most broken thing of all time. It's literally possible. I would urge you all to try tier shift while you can, because the possibilities are truly out of this world here. Thank you for watching.